and comparing their partners or their partner with the with someone from Instagram. That is also his precious sexual energy, his emotional energy is flowing somewhere to some other, let's say, entity.
You should never go into a relationship to get something. You should always go with the intention to give something.
Oh, that the relationship that they so dearly want, they don't want to have with that man. They're actually in the relationships with the woman because they project the image of the mother that they want to hurt, the mother that they want to prove, hey, look at me, mom, I'm an adult, I want to take your daddy.
Today we are talking about what happens when you move together in a relationship and how that childhood affects that in your relationship. And I'm today not alone. I'm here with Mary. Mary is in lithotherapy since 2008 and works as a licensed psychotherapist. Hello, Mary.
Hi,
Nice to
hello,
meet you.
Timon. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I think it's a great topic that we're discussing today. It's just it's so interesting to look into relationships, and I know that this is what you do and the kind of services that you provide. um, let's talk about this dynamic. So when adults start unconsciously kind of replaying their childhood roles, what's your take on it? When does it actually kick in? When does it start?
Yeah, I mean, when at the beginning everything is beautiful, everything is fine, and then there's some commitment, like, okay, now we go the next step. And with this commitment, I see it also in relationships. People are afraid about that, or there's some avoidance about that, because when you see each other just like in the week on the weekend, then it's like, yeah, it's cool, nice, but then you see them every day
Yeah,
and you cannot really avoid conflicts, or you cannot avoid other things by being in distance. So you're now, yeah, in the same apartment, and
yeah,
then
absolutely.
there's a lot stuff going on.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck. You see them brushing their teeth. You see them making food. And especially a lot of things are actually rotate. A lot of meanings rotate around food and the way people used to gather around the table and share food. So maybe we should give your audience a little bit more context on what we're going to talk about. And if we quote our dear friend Sigmund Freud, right? He pointed out back in about a century ago, he pointed out the meaning of um, transference in general. So basically, it is something that the way you react to your partner, not seeing them, but seeing someone else, someone from your childhood, someone who was there as an early caregiver. So in simple words, your partner stops being the actual partner or the actual person and becomes your mother, your father, or the caregiver, for example, grandmother or grandfather in your nervous system. This is how your nervous system perceives that. And just recently, just yesterday, attending another conference because I am finishing off my EMDR certification. So I'm going to be in a few days certified EMDR therapist in Europe and North America. And I just saw, I'm sorry to say this, how adult men and women were just falling into this trap of transference immediately after a few minutes of starting a Zoom conference. So it's a very strong dynamic. Now, obviously, if you are on Zoom, if you talk about very vital, important things, you fall into this trap faster. And now you as a professional dealing with people who actually have severe and sometimes not so severe, but intense relationship problems, you do see how this plays out. Now, astrology explains it very well because you and I, we've talked about astrology before, and it's just plain and simple. You have, if we talk about male chart, you have the planet Venus. For example, let's imagine you have Venus in, I'm going to talk for myself, Venus in Scorpio, right? So you expect from your lover, from your partner to be extremely sexual, almost seductive, to be there, almost like possessive and jealous and ready to go at any time. But then you have, let's say, a moon in Taurus. And that means that once you start living together, plain and simple, you expect this sexy girl to cook well, to make sure that she runs errands, to make sure that everything is clean, that there is tasty food on the table. And then you kind of don't really understand, what is it exactly I want? Did I become a jerk just by, inviting this new person into my life and expecting something completely different after a few months? And the answer is no, it's just transference, but it's
Mhm.
also reflected in astrology. Your take on it?
Yeah, astrology is very um, interesting, very interesting how you act when you are with your partner, when you are married together, when you are living together. There's also a lot of dynamics in this area. And what do you think about um, the parents
Mm-hmm.
affect the child who grow up and then go into a relationship? So because I see most of the time like
Mm-hmm.
the relationship from the wife to her father is there are some
Mm-hmm.
similarities
Mm-hmm.
between them and her husband, for example, or the husband has some similarities between his mother and the wife.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
what are your thoughts about that?
That sounds like you're describing the repetition compulsion, plain and simple. So it's the, let's say, the unconscious drive, the unconscious desire of this or the other individual to just recreate situations where they can resolve their childhood trauma. And I'll tell you even more. I have seen women specifically entering triangular relationships,
Yeah.
trying to be with a married man, or trying to be with someone who is obviously not free. And what a revelation they have when they find out that the relationship that they so dearly want, they don't want to have with that man. They're actually in the relationships with the woman because they project the image of the mother that they want to hurt, the mother that they want to prove, hey, look at me, mom, I'm an adult. I want to take your daddy away. So there's a lot of crazy stuff being played out behind the scene, and a lot of people don't realize that they like this man not because he's handsome, not because he's super, intellectual or rich, or there's something incredible about his physique, only because they have this unresolved issue where they wanted their father, right? And now we're going to go completely Sigmund Freud on all of this. But they wanted their father. They never got him, but they never got peace in the understanding that they're the daughter and that they should leave this couple alone. It's called the
Mm,
Dipple complex. So,
mm,
or electric complex, depending on the literature that you read. And this is just absolutely fascinating of how much we can live someone else's life, the life that we haven't chosen, the life that does not belong to us. It's actually a scenario of some brother-in-law or of our grandmother that we're just playing out because we don't know any better. And that's
Mm,
what you and I are here to do, to help people understand what is their scenario and how they should just, start entering their own life and start living their own life. I think this is very important.
yes, I think one of the first steps is understanding
Mhm,
because for example, for myself, when I I worked on the relationship with my father
mhm,
by actually looking into the past and for example, I wrote a book and wrote down three things what I appreciate or like about my father. So
mhm,
I
mhm,
tried to change my perspective about him by constantly writing things down which I appreciate about him. So that was one thing. And the other thing is I took walks with him and I actually asked him questions about his life before me. Because most people don't know what happens
yeah.
about their parents before they were born. So there was like, yeah, what was your first crush? How
Mm,
how
mm,
do you like my mother? How do you approach her? How was your relationship with your father and with your mother? And through that, I realized some traits about him, and I could understand. For example, when I when I played football in the
mhm,
past, I played on the field and he was always there for me. He was always supporting me, but he
mhm,
was also the loudest on the pitch.
mm,
So the trainer, the player, nobody was as loud as him.
mm. And this is fascinating. Not each and every person has this beautiful experience of having a supportive father. Usually, when you talk about, and we just continue this conversation about transference and countertransference, when you have an unsupportive parent, right? Then in countertransference, the emotional reaction of the other person is the reaction to your transference. So, for example, you're a therapist and all of a sudden you want to be withdrawn and cold. And this is like you feel just like that absent father that was never there and wanted to withdraw at all times. And you start behaving like one, even if you don't want to. Just happens automatically. And by reading carefully into transference and countertransference, you can diagnose very well people and you can actually guide them through this healing process. You can help them to understand what were the dynamics in the family, what is truly going on. And I think you having this very strong supportive background from your father, having this background, and knowing what support truly feels like, does give your clients and does give people you work with the ability to relate, the ability to relax in this presence.
Yes.
Because let's face it, a lot of people come from very disturbed families, and I don't mean to say by that a lot of therapists, if they come from unfortunate families, have a low capacity on solving the issues. Quite the opposite. A lot of times they solve situations and they guide people way better because they have the sympathy, they're emotionally available, and so on and so forth. But the trap here is in how long you have been working on yourself as a therapist, as a professional, as a coach, right? And you and I, we come from this world of coaches and trainers and speakers, and you've worked with them yourself. So you know what a damaged person who is hiding it very well, disassociating very well, having the social masks of a successful, gentleman, how much damage they can do
Mm,
if they
yes.
haven't worked on their own issues. Hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing is understanding, because the more you understand, the more you have empathy, you have compassion, you can understand, in my case, for example, why my father was loud, because in the past he couldn't play football, so he relived this situation by being next to me on the field. So something
Mm-hmm.
like, but in my case, when I was young, I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing and please stop and
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
through understanding, you are, the more you understand your father, the more you understand your mother, the more you understand yourself
Mm-hmm.
and also your partner. Why you react like the way with your partner, why you withdraw, why you are criticized, why you get loud with your partner, because you
Mm-hmm.
learned it from your parents or like
Mm-hmm.
with each other, or when the parents did it to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Timon, and exactly what you're talking about is the role. Like the more you know about your parents and about the dynamic in their life, what was truly happening there, the more you are capable of saying no to the people who want to push you into some roles that you do not choose, right? And that is, once again, this is the complementary countertransference that Nancy McWilliams writes about. And I believe we discussed it a few weeks ago. That is, for example, in partnership, if the partner becomes angry, you become submissive or you start feeling guilty, right? This is the complementary countertransference. Or your partner feels like he needs help, he's helpless, and you become controlling, you become you get overwhelmed with these feelings like, oh, I must help him, I must control him, I must do whatever it takes to um, guide him. And what in fact what we're dealing with, it boils down to a depressed person, or let's say a person with the history of depressive behavior, um, and automatically, although you were not one of the controlling types, you become the controlling type and you start taking on responsibility that is not yours, taking responsibility for the depression of that person near you. So this dynamic is, I think the reason why you emphasize the importance of know thyself, know your history, know your family, is because you know how important it is to see beyond the dynamic that is between, I don't know, Jean and John.
Yes,
Beyond that.
actually, from a research from John Gottman,
Mm-hmm.
is 69% of all conflicts in a relationship perpetual conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
So they are never solvable and they repeat every day, week, month, year. And you can only solve these perpetual problems by understanding each other, because surprise, your partner is someone different.
Mm-hmm.
He's not your identical or your clone.
Yeah.
So this is a personality who has some values, some beliefs, some patterns, some different parents than you.
Mm-hmm.
And so these perpetual conflicts are in the core are some deep beliefs who they have each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And by understanding each other's beliefs and why they act like they act,
Mm-hmm.
they can understand each other much better and understand why they do that. And that helps them
Yeah.
to resolve it more.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely. How many people don't even understand the pattern that they're just caught in? And it's not even their pattern. So um when we talk about enactment, right? Enacting the the transference, countertransference, whatever, you name it. The couple, hypothetical couple, acts it out, right? So there is no true understanding of what's happening. And the reason why it's perpetual, or the reason why it's happening again and again, uh, is because you're playing out someone else's script that is not written for you. And this is so unfortunate. And I think there is a way out of it. And I saw that it's possible to get out of it. I saw some very good stories, and very happy people who were actually able to save their marriage. Now, also, if we talk about, let's say, Germany, if we talk about United States or any other country, there are a lot of differences. For example, in the States, uh, people are not used to talking about their problems with each other. This is just not the type of culture that is encouraged. Maybe it is encouraged in small circles that soon will become very unpopular. And I mean, somewhere in the Hollywood area in California, or somewhere in Portland, Oregon, or Minnesota, but that's about it. Because the society is built that way, that you work a lot, you spend a lot of time at work, and you barely see your partner, and definitely your partner doesn't want to hear you, complaining about your bad day. I mean, I'm not saying that this happens in each and every family, but it does happen. And guess what? um, Transference and countertransference happens at work. Now, you've had some very interesting stories, because you worked for some, let's say, major firms, or very interesting organizations where this was also, taking place, right? People projecting their unconscious material onto you. Maybe you want to talk about it. Maybe you want to mention this. I don't know. But
Yeah,
mhm,
I mean, there's in work, there are also people, and a
mhm,
relationship is always about two individuals. So the things, what happens in a intimacy relationship can also happens in a work relationship with your boss or with your colleagues, also in your friendship area. The only thing between friendship and work and intimacy is probably the distance. Like friendship
mhm,
is more like, okay, I want to see this guy or
mhm,
this woman, and then we meet and make a cool evening or whatever. In
mhm,
work, you need to go every day, or at least under the week, every day to the work
mhm,
be
mhm,
in this situation. And when we go at the beginning, when they are moving together in a relationship, then they are very close to each other. And then they need to go sometimes into conflicts. And conflicts in the past, I always like to avoid conflicts, I
mhm,
like harmony. But I learned that conflicts can either be destructive or they can connect each other more. And this is also some
mhm.
point of view I realized that conflicts are very good for connecting when you do it in the right way. And that is also what's I think it's not only US.
Mhm.
I think there's every country who has their problems with relationship because there is no school about, yeah,
Yeah.
this is how you do that. So there's nothing got teach in the school about how you make a good relationship, and
Oh yeah.
there are skills a lot to learn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very unfortunate, and the constant avoidance of conflict, which we know is a sign of some disturbance that this or the other individual experienced in early childhood. For example, during potty training time. And these types are called anal types. people who are rather, want to hold on to their anger like it's something precious. A lot of times, the anal folks want to hold on to their partner, save them and keep them, store them on the shelf and keep them there as a, let's say, as a trophy. These people are very concerned about not losing money, not about earning money, but not keeping the money that they have. And currently, if we look into the astrological trends that are happening right now, a lot of people will lose money. Exactly the type of people who want to hold on to their money, they're just going to lose them. Whatever happens, some platforms might not work, banking platforms, and so on and so forth. Because let me remind our audience, we're entering the age when Uranus enters the sign of Gemini. That means that fiat currency, such as, hard cash, is going to cease to exist at some point, and it's just a question of time when. And this time is already happening. You're into crypto, I am into crypto, because we should be very diverse in our interests. This is what makes us good professionals, therapists, people who can actually give advice and help people with various interests in life. And so I started with the anal type, but I'm gonna finish by coming back to what we're talking about. And so people who want to hold on to things and not let them go, they also have a tendency of avoiding conflict. And that means that this effect that is being kept in our subconscious mind, kept as a prisoner, this effect has to go out somewhere. They get into car accidents. These are the kind of people who at the end of the day end up shooting their partner somewhere in the backyard of their house, just out of rage and anger that they cannot hold anymore, any longer. Or these are people who start obsessing over things and develop all kinds of physiological, not only psychological, but physiological illnesses because of this, because of inability to express healthy anger, because it was not encouraged in their family. Now, I'm not saying that, when you date, you have to run the background check and check their DNA, do the DNA test and everything, but you do have to question these people. Tell me about your parents, tell me about your grandparents, and kind of lean back and feel, how are they talking about them? Is it a learned by heart kind of phrase that they give at each and every meeting? Or can you see that they're, in German, there's this beautiful word, Mundwinkeln. Man kann sehen, dass die Mundwinkel nach unten gehen. No? So you're going to add in our interview Mundwinkeln for the international audience to know what that means. So just feel that body language. Is there a tension in the body? What is truly there? What is really happening there? And 100%, the kind of partners that we choose at the end, these are people who remind us of our family members, because this is something that our nervous system already knows. The length of the nose, the facial features, the way people pause, the way they smell, the way they walk and talk. If we feel immediately drawn to them, like instantly, oh, there is a potential of it being a recipe for disaster. That means that there is something unresolved, something very unconscious is happening. And I keep one story in mind. This is a person I've met in Washington, D.C. It was back in the days. He looked just like my relative, like blonde hair, brown eyes. He looked just like, someone from my family. And
Mm-hmm.
I had this immediate recognition, and I was obsessing over this person for years afterwards, just thinking constantly about how is he doing, what's going on. And then this is a big mistake. This is a difference between this is called twin flames or soulmates, and just your personal trauma and drama that you mentioned it at the beginning of our conversation is just unresolved. And
Mm,
that's what you are here for, to help people understand and decipher. Is it the soulmate, or is it you know is it your father who was absent and kind of
yeah.
gave you ambiguous signs?
Yes, I
Mhm.
think there's two things. One is also something like people always looking for the soulmate, but instead of creating their soulmate. So this is also typical in attachment theory, like avoidance, anxious attached style. Avoidance style is, for example, that
Uh-huh.
people always try to make or bring distance to their partner. And one reason is because they look for the right partner, the right partner, the perfect partner. Like when I feel good, he's perfect. When I don't feel good, then he's not the right partner. So this is also some trap where people fall in, and
Mm-hmm.
this is also something you should never go into a relationship to get something. You should always go with the intention to give something. And this is also something I learned from Tony Robbins. Really, I love this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He said there's three dimensions of relationship. The first is to get something out of a relationship, so very narcissistic kind of stuff. Like, okay, what do I get from you when I'm in the relationship? The second is very famous right now. It's like the equal relationship. So like a transactional relationship. I give this and you give me that. And it's always about, okay, I I did everything, but he didn't give me anything. So it's like they always like make some mathematics in their head, like, okay, I give this and now he give me that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the third one is like her or his needs are my needs.
Mm-hmm.
So they understand each other, they know what are their dreams, their wishes, what they need, and
Mm-hmm.
they give them unconditional. So without any
Timon, this is
promises or
so
something.
interesting. This is so interesting. I love the gradation, and I love the way you talk about it. I think this is definitely a topic for the next kind of conversation that we might want to have, because you just mentioned the magical word narcissist. Like a lot of people, uh, they're out there to get something, and currently it's in fashion to talk about narcissists, how to spot a narcissist, how not to become a victim of a narcissist. But you, ladies and gentlemen, you yourself attract these narcissists. There is something that is very familiar. Maybe your absent father, or maybe your schizophrenic mother, right? That reminds you uh, that there is this gap, there is this unresolved issue that I can resolve through having a narcissist in my life. So responsibility is not completely on the evil narcissist. It's also our responsibility to find out who the hell we are, and to really change the pattern.
Yes.
This is definitely a great idea for the next conversation. I guess we can start rounding it up. But yeah, it's just a very interesting topic of your soul partner and the high expectations. Usually when um there is a wave of idealizing someone, Like when you get bombarded with messages, you're the best, you're the most amazing. 100%, and each and every therapist knows that. There's going to be a period of time when you're going to get completely devalued just because there was this spike in idealizing you, putting you there on the pedestal. Then the same person is going to take you down. And I think you're referring to the borderline, almost kind of like behavior, where for people who haven't experienced rich emotional life, who haven't had enough support, their world is very poor. It's just black and white. It's like a freaking black and white Soviet film from 1930s. That's it. It's either good or bad. There is nothing in between. I think this is what you mean by saying that, some people want their perfect soulmate, and if they cannot check all of the check, um, also wenn nicht alles überall stimmt,
Yeah.
then they say, okay, we discard this guy and we go and look for the next one. It's very sad.
Yes, and yeah, it's also with social media today. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are constantly in comparing each other, or you compare with your husband with the perfect image on social media, or your wife with all the women there outside and posting some pictures. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Wow, you're just bringing one gemstone after another. I mean, what can I say? Currently, we do need to watch out what's happening there energetically. For example, a few days ago, Epstein files were released, right? And all of a sudden, people are looking into these pictures. People are reading these emails. What's happening is that they get hooked up to the egregor of dirt and pedophilia,
yes.
and they feed this egregor with their energy. Um, so if a person is spending hours and hours on social media and comparing their partners or their partner with with someone from Instagram, that is also his precious sexual energy, his emotional energy is flowing somewhere to some other, let's say, entity, and
Mm,
not into the relationships. This is fascinating. Currently, there are a lot of, let's say, um, let's call it agencies or egregors, entities, the way you want to call them, that just, they're out there to get our energy and attention, and we should be mindful of it. We should be mindful of what and when we watch and with what intention and what we truly consume, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
for more where your energy go or where your focus goes, your energy flows. So
Mm,
where's your focus? Is your focus in your relationship? Is your focus on your partner, or is it somewhere else? So it's like it's nurturing. What do you nurture?
mm,
And this is growing. Like in your mind and also yeah, your relationship. So
mm,
you can watch 1 hour of TikToks,
yeah.
maybe my TikToks, then it's good. But if it's not my TikToks, but I don't know. But you can either do that or you can be 1 hour with your partner, cuddling and ask your partner uh, what he likes in life, what was his past, how did he grow up, what are the three most beautiful moments which he had in his life or her.
Mhm.
So you can use you everybody has 24 hours. So the question is where where are you at this time? Yes.
Fascinating. Where are you? Exactly.
Yeah.
Be mindful of where you are each and every moment. Thank you so much, Timon, for this beautiful conversation. It's just this is eine Schatzkiste of wisdom, another term that our international audience can learn. And thank you. I hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much, Mary, for being here with me today and sharing all your knowledge, all your insights, also from
Yeah,
your
I think it's interesting
psychotherapy.
how we jumped from transference and countertransference directly into Epstein files.
Yeah, some
This is just how we roll,
yeah, yes,
right?
easy. And yeah, for you out there, if you like this video, hit the follow button, like this video, write in the comments what are your thoughts and what you want, maybe the next topics we can discuss. Let me know. Bye bye.
Bye.